It's if you stop to think about it, it's quite incredible the way your reawakening is set up, because it's so full of integrity and it's so foolproof. Again, the Holy Spirit is the perfect teacher. He uses only what your minds already understand to teach you that you do not understand it. The Holy Spirit can deal with an unwilling learner without going counter to his will, because part of his will is still for God. Part of your will is still for God. Despite the ego's attempts to conceal this part, it is still much stronger than the ego, even though the ego does not recognize it. That in you, which is the will for God, no matter how much you've blocked it from your awareness, is still stronger than the infrastructure of mutually agreed upon definitions that you have created. Continuing, the Holy Spirit recognizes it perfectly because it is His own dwelling place, or the place in the mind where He is at home. You are at home there too, because it is a place of peace, and peace is of God. You who are part of God are not at home except in His peace. If peace is eternal, you are at home only in eternity. The ego made the world as it perceives it, but the Holy Spirit, the reinterpreter of what the ego made, sees it only as a teaching device for bringing you home. And so I and the Holy Spirit say, look at the roses, look at the petals, look at the glass on the glass top table, and be willing to see something new there, something that doesn't fit the definitions that you've given to it. Be willing to see the presence of God. Be willing to see an idea there rather than matter. Be willing to see the substance of spirit there instead of the substance of matter. Look with innocent eyes. Continuing, the Holy Spirit must perceive time and reinterpret it into the timeless. The mind must be led into eternity through time because, having made time, it is capable of perceiving its opposite. You remember I said before that the only creative, and that word creative should be in quotes, the only creative capacity you have as an ego is to block the experience of creation. There is no capacity to make a new creation. So the only capacity you have as an ego to be creative is to block off more and more and more of creation from your conscious awareness. So, the mind must be led into eternity through time, because having made time, it is capable of perceiving its opposite. If you are capable of seeming to create something for yourself through an act of denial of reality, then you know at the bottom line There is a choice other than what you're experiencing, because you've used that other choice as the point of denial in order to create the illusion.
Too much. It's too much. I have to speak up in my integrity.
No, this needs to be.
Well, okay. I've just got through spending 6 weeks reading a manual from my sewing machine that I don't understand. And then I go take a class, and I have a teacher reading that manual to me. And I'm sorry, I don't get that manual. Now, I don't learn this way. I can't learn this way. It's, you know, it's bulldozing my mind, and I have to speak up. I learn by taking one jewel and assimilating it and embracing it fully. When I have this wealth of one concept after another being presented, I can't absorb it. And there are so many questions I have after each paragraph. I have to speak up and say something. I have to say, I can't move this fast because I want to learn what's in here. And so I have to say, you know, either I have to wait. It raises my frustration level, much like a child who first enters first and second grade, you know, and they're on to the 4th grade material. I have to say something here. Because if I don't, I'm overlooking what I intuitively love about this book, but yet not fully understood. Now, Paul and I have discussed this behind the scenes already. This is not new. I'm not throwing something at him. But I've got to speak up here because we are all involved in this. And I've already run over, must be 10 different ideas that I'm not grasping. Now, maybe the human mind may never grasp it, but somewhere I've got to be in sync with it. So I'm begging, can we move a little slower? I am not getting enough examples or in-depth understanding. And I wonder if others in the group are feeling this way. I just had to say it.
I'm coming unglued. Absolutely.
I'm not. I'm right with you.
I'm lost.
I'm with you.
Fast or
I
slow?
know.
What's the while I do it?
I'm really following with this. For me, and it's only because I had a really odd experience back in like 2000. It's called like a Kundalini experience. And it was just like my mind was really open, and it's just like I had a vision. And it was just like, it was nothing but white light, you know, with God. And it was just pure peace and everything like that. And then for some reason, I felt a fall or a separation take place. And it was just like all of a sudden, it's just like I fall, and it was just one mass ball of light. And it was falling in a spiral circle, and it seemed to create the stars and everything. And then I seemed to be on this planet, and it seemed like my consciousness had been split asunder, thrown everywhere. And what I found is that from what you're saying is that everything that I'm seeing and everything like that is just the idea that I had of separation. And that as I start to open myself up and let go of my ego definitions of who I think I am and start loving and opening up to everything, the reality of the situation of being in the real world with God and everything will be my full experience as I open up and allow the Holy Spirit to make that conscious again. I fully understand what he's saying. Go ahead.
I'm feeling very connected with what Susan was expressing, and as I'm hearing you read on and explain this, my mind is working in picture form, and I'm trying to get an analogies that will help me to understand from this ego perception that I'm experiencing. And one of the things that was that came to my mind that was sort of helpful was, seeing this paper cup on the table and imagining that if there's an infilling of love that comes into this perception, ego perception, I'm seeing myself as a paper cup that can be filled from meditating, let's say, and then if I say, okay, now I've got this infilling, and I close the top of that paper cup and say, now this is mine, I have this, then I'm closing off the capability of continuing to be filled, so that I'm overflowing, and then I actually have the capacity to love and to give. But it's not my giving, it's the overflowing of the Holy Spirit that is just filling this to overflowing. And I just, my ego perception wants to take credit for extending love, and when I try to do that, I block the flow of love.
Indeed.
And so it's kind of I don't know if that's helping, but when you were saying that that by giving we're reinforcing that experience,
Strengthening it.
they're strengthening it. To me, I can't give something that I don't have, and so
That is,
and I don't have any love of my own from an ego standpoint, except a sort of a bargain kind of idea of love, and the real love is of God.
indeed. And one of the elements that allows you to know whether it's coming from the ego or from the Holy Spirit or the Father is that when it is not from your ego, you will have no way of making a connection to what has happened where you can say, I was responsible for that. I did that. You will know you were involved, but there will be no way to feel that you authored it. You will know that you were inseparable from it. and you will have the joy of the experience. But afterwards, you will have to say something to the effect that I was filled with inspiration, and what came forth was incredibly beautiful, wonderful, or helpful. But, quote, it didn't come from me, unquote, meaning I wasn't the originator of it.
So we can remain innocent that way.
You could look at it that way, yes. When it's from the ego, you will definitely be able to take credit for it and feel pride around it. Now, it is an entirely new way of being to be the presence of the movement of love. Without being able to take credit for it. To be something wonderful, to be the presence of fulfillment, to be a true agent for change, is a new kind of experience, because a personal sense of authorship is not connected with it in any way. But it doesn't bother you, because there was such a complete experience of involvement with it that you were inseparable from it. That kind of experience of being a truly meaningful presence without having authored the event that is part of being from the new operating system. And you will experience a sense of loss of the previous capacity you had to be able to take credit and to feel pride and to think that you knew that it validated you as a worthwhile being. There will seem to be the loss of that experience, but it will be replaced by something entirely different. That being, as I said, the experience of being inseparable from the movement itself, of that movement not being different from you in any way, and the only way I can put this is having the experience of having been meaningful, because there is infinite feedback from all your brothers and sisters who are awake. Confirming, I'm going to say, God in the event. This is a new way of experiencing identity.
I've had glimpses of that in my past, and I long for that to return. And I really want to appreciate Susan's courage to come forth and express the frustration that I feel too. But at the same time, I also sometimes wonder, you know, we get so much intellectual, I mean, the words that are being given in this text and your explanation, sometimes it almost seems like it's, like Susan said, it's too much, and it sort of confounds the mind, almost like one of those, what do they call those Buddhist quatrains or something? I don't know what they call them, where it so confuses the mind that finally the mind just says, I give up. And in that giving up, then maybe there's a chance for us to feel the love that's being extended. And I really feel it here when I come in the door and I smell Susan's cooking. That fills me every bit as much as listening to you, Raj. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I want to pass the mic to somebody.
Indeed, Susan, what you were feeling was like a child in a small river, 9 to 12 inches deep, sitting on the rocky bottom and enjoying a little bit of buoyancy, so that with a little push on the rocks, she would float a little bit and the current would move her. But then having moved or been moved by the current to an area a little shallower where the current was faster, finding that when she buoyed herself up off the pebbles, she was moved faster than she anticipated and felt a loss of control. Indeed, what I'm engaged in here doesn't have so much to do with the words as it has to do with having exactly the right ideas expressed in exactly the right timing so that it causes ahas to occur. Now, I'm going to honor at the same time your request. We have gone many weeks without the ability to interact. And so I am going to invite everyone this week to give some thought to what we have talked about and what questions you have had. And we will devote next Sunday, or at least as much time as it takes to answer or explore the questions, the concerns, the doubts, or whatever that you might have. This format will not continue indefinitely. It has been appropriate, and it will continue to be appropriate for a short time. I commend you for speaking up, and I encourage all of you, whether it's here or whether it's when you're dealing with your own guide, when you feel like you've just had it, then stop and have it out. maintain that degree of integrity and realness with your guide or the Holy Spirit or the Father.
Or your wife. Same thing.
Someone said, or your wife. Your wife is as good an object of your affection as the Holy Spirit is. Yes. Yes.
I kind of always go along with whatever's going on, and I've not found it to be a problem to stay with you all the while, and I don't get in the road. So what do you have? And I think I already know what the answer is that I accept. And we can go next week and ask all kinds of questions that we don't understand. And is that my position?
I want the questions to relate to what we have been reading about. It will not shift into, let us say, a typical gathering where questions about all different subjects can be brought up. We're here discussing and exploring the ideas expressed in the course.
And so being that there's a good possibility that I don't have any questions, that my part is to be gracious and allow for the questions, even though I would just love for you to continue on and just talk for hours and hours more, and I wouldn't leave you ever. So that's my part, is to just sit and listen to questions.
Your brothers and sisters with questions are as worthy an object of your affection as Mark's wife is.
I agree. I agree. I knew the answer, and I go along.
Has this been on the internet?
Yes.
One more thing. It's the value I see in pausing while we're moving along swiftly here is, I'll give an example. There's a paragraph here that's hanging me up. Mainly it's the language, whether it's in this book or the other one, it's still the language that's hanging me up. And I don't know if I should go into it.
I will ask you to save it for next week.
May I say something, though, not about the book?
Certainly.
I hope I don't forget. Whatever paragraph would be hanging me up, if I happen to have an unrecognized part of me that's interpreting but imagining that I'm joined, and I'm not paying attention to the level of frustration that I'm experiencing because there is an unrecognized part of me, or of what I thought I was, interpreting it, I can't move any further until there is a shift of, it's like in meditation. Once you see that you're in a stuck level or an altered state, the moment you see it, the moment you grasp where that misperception was, the moment you see it, you can move beyond it. But obviously there's some identification that I'm having here that's preventing me from seeing truly what's in that paragraph. And so I can't move forward. And the group's going to have to wait, or I'm going to have to go over there and do my homework. You know, because
Indeed.
I have to recognize what it was in that strata that I was seeing with, that I don't need, in order then to get back into the movement and it be smooth sailing again. And that requires me to pause. If I don't pause, I will stay stuck where I am and everybody else moves forward, which increases my frustration. And they've all gotten it, but here I am, stuck. So I think it's a learning procedure, a process. And if somebody else were saying this, you know, I could feel quite impatient with it and say, come on, I know this stuff. I've known it for 20 years. Well, guess what? I know this stuff. And I have known it for 20 years. But something's hanging me up. And I'm sorry to miss the beauty of letting this sink in, because I want it to sink in and lift me even further out of a personal sense of self. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. I know that there are others who thank you for speaking up. We will end on this note of appreciation. And I look forward, and I know many others look forward to next Sunday. Thank you for being very real. I love you all.